Hi everyone, it's time for my December TBR. So, December. There's so much to love and so much to hate about this month. When I say hate, it's this feeling that I love December. Like, Christmas is my second favorite holiday, next to Halloween, obviously. But it's also a time I get to go home and see my family. And unfortunately, I can't do that this year. So I am trying my best to recreate the feeling of Christmas here, and I guess just to make this as happy as possible by just enjoying myself with a month of reading. And now, to be clear, I'm not really reading Christmassy books. Some you might could say are related to that, but really it's just I'm trying to read some things I think I might absolutely love, using December as a way to close off the year and read books that I've been wanting to finish or get to for a long time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I read the first 4 books of this series, and I want to read book 5 and 6. If I were to have time and interest, which seems unlikely, I'll get to the short stories, which I think are in the back of this, but I'll probably just end up listening to books 5 and 6. Book 5 is a collection of short stories, and book 6 is not. Then there are more beyond that. Really, I've had mixed feelings about this series. It's just the classic traditional way of telling the story. It just doesn't work for me. I find it really hard to connect to. I found book 2 a lot better than book 1, and book 3 somewhere in the middle of the two. But still, I bought this and I'm still mildly interested, and I want to be able to say, hey, I read Earthsea, because it's a classic. You know what, I don't have to justify myself to you. I do not. I'm happy to finally begin with these 2. Granted, this is probably the lowest priority book of the month, but it's something I wanted to get to. My goal this year was to get through one a month, and then it lasted like 3 or 4 months, and then bada bing, bada boom, it's now here in the year I haven't finished it. So that's what I'm going to do. In that same line of thinking, there was a series that I started in high school, so over 10 years ago now, that I never finished, and I am still interested in finishing it, honestly more so than Earthsea, and that is the Chronicles of Narnia. I think I read the first 3 books of this series in like 10th grade, and now I want to finish it. I mentioned before, wanting to, I guess, try and get the Christmassy spirit, but also just try and use December as a way, I don't know, to recreate certain feelings and just close things off. I think this will be an easy read, a fun read, in a way this would have remind me of my younger days. I know I'm not that old, but you know what I mean, just of home. And also, I do think this is probably the most Christmassy book I have, because it's, I don't know, snowy, Christmassy. I do have some hesitancies going into this, because it's heavily Christian, and I am very not Christian. So we'll see whether or not that affects this experience. If anything, if there's anything in here, I feel like it would just excite emotion, like anger, which is at least something. I like feeling something, even if it's anger, when I'm reading a book. So I do look forward to reading this. I'm going to read the entire series. I should be clear there. I'm not just going to read the rest of the series. I'm going to start over from the beginning. And while it is pretty thick, I have the audiobook. It's like 33 hours. Now, the next book is a book that was on my media freakout tag as a book I wanted to finish. This was not the only one. Unfortunately, it's the only one I decided to include in this TBR. But that is East of Eden. This is one I wanted to get to for so long. I wanted to read more John Steinbeck for a while now. I loved Mice and Men in high school, and I've yet to return to that book or read any other books by him. I feel like there's just a lot that I could love here. I know it has something about like depression era. I'm not sure. The tone I think will be great, but in particular, I think when I first sought out these books, when I found out the audiobook narrator was someone that I really liked, I think it was the same guy who did like some Dan Brown book, which doesn't mean much to me, but it's a certain voice that I know if I have a good narrator, I'm more likely to enjoy a book, or at the very least enjoy the experience. And then the next one is a book that actually is fairly brand new, and the reason I chose to read this is because the Black Future Book Club will be doing a video chat about Sister Outsiders, a collection of essays by Audre Lorde. I just hauled this in November. I think it'll be an informative and easy enough read. Hopefully I'll be able to get to it before their chat. I think their chat was supposed to be this weekend. Right now it's like a couple days before December. So maybe they postponed it. If they have, I'll try to fit it in the first week of December. This is also my anti-racist book of December, which if you're new here, I have a goal of reading at least one anti-racist book every month. I have a few other books that I want to mention, but I do have like 2 secret TBRs, which are basically, I'm going to be doing 2 separate reading book 2 favorites videos, which is something I've done several times now, and I enjoy it. So I'll give you a couple excerpts of those books. The first one I'll be reading for one of my videos is going to be The Deep by River Solomon, and I am really excited for this. I'm also somewhat intimidated because I know it's a dense book, but I do think there's so much potential here for me to love, and I'm going to try and take my time with this to really appreciate it. I'm really, really excited for this, honestly. One of my most anticipated books that I'm getting to this year, I suppose. Next, I'm going to be reading Brandon Sanderson's The Final Empire, or Book 1 of the Mistborn series. I've never read Brandon Sanderson, I guess except for a novella that was co-authored with another author that I like, and I just know this is a fantasy. Basically, think Harry Potter, except if Harry Potter lost. I think that's really exciting. I love the idea of the big bad winning. Did see a video, who was it by? One of the really popular booktubers out there describing it, I think, as a Highsmoke book, or maybe that was this book, which is to say The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, Book 1, The Stormlight Archive. Yes, I'll be reading 2 different books by Brandon Sanderson, and they are 2 different series. I know these are all within the same universe, and it might be better if I were to read them consecutively, but I don't want to do that. I'd rather just read them one at a time, because I don't want to rush through series. I also don't want to postpone reading this series until I finish that one. I'd rather do them both at once, I don't know a lot about this one, actually. I remember I first encountered this book when it first came out, because I was reading the Wheel of Time series, which he helped finish, and I remember thinking, this guy is just getting a book published because he happens to have his name known from Wheel of Time. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm not interested in that. And of course, what the fuck did I know what I was talking about? I had no idea what I was talking about. So clearly he's one of the most respected writers in fantasy. I don't read a lot of epic fantasy because I do struggle as an audiobook reader to get all the details. But I feel like this is so mainstream, I'll probably be able to get to this. And then lastly, the last book I'll be reading in one of my themed TBRs is Naylor Hopkinson, which is Falling in Love with Hominidors. And really, to be honest here, I just wanted to read a book by Naylor Hopkinson, and I've now bought all of her books. The problem is that this was the only one I think I bought brand new in Ontario, meaning the other ones I bought used and had it shipped to my sisters in America. And so I'm gonna get this one first because I have it on hand. I don't know a lot about this. I don't really need to. I've just heard a lot of great things about Naylor Hopkinson. I think this could be a new favorite. I was shocked to find out that this is someone so loved that I had yet to ever read. Now that's pretty much my TBR. There are a few other books obviously on those secret TBRs, but naturally this, quantitatively speaking, is going to be a smaller TBR than previous months because I am reading big books, but I've done the math and the page numbers that I have should be like within the reach of what I normally go for, because I wanted to make sure I didn't stress myself out trying to overachieve here. I will say there are a couple other books that I will hope to get to, but I'm not going to make a priority. It's just like if I'm in the mood or if I find myself ahead of schedule, I will try and get 2 books that I've yet to finish this year, which is to say a book I started this month called From Slave Cabins to the White House by Karina Mitchell. And this was an arc that I got and I have not finished it yet. It's about the transition, or rather how black people, I think particularly women, black women, have made their place in a society that tries to exclude them. And I guess how that changes from being brought here as slaves to having a black woman in the White House. I think I stopped because at the time I was overwhelmed because I had just finished another arc I think that was very academic, and this one can end up coming across very academic, so I sort of paused. But I still want to return to it for the years out if I can manage it. And then another one is Peter Straub's Ghost Story. I made it 2/3 of this book for a nighttime reading vlog, and I never finished it because I was overwhelmed with other books, and honestly I wasn't loving it. At the same time, I wasn't hating it. It was just like, it was like a mild feeling. I had a very mild feeling towards it. We'll see if it motivates me to read it before the month is out. Other than that, there are several arcs that I could get to if I manage to have time. I plan on doing 12 days of Vlogmas, starting in mid-December, going through Christmas Day. So that's gonna be a lot of recording, and I doubt I'll be able to read as much as I want to, honestly, but I'm gonna sure as hell try. I'm still excited because there's a lot here that I think I could really love. Brandon Sanderson, Naylor Hopkinson, The Deep, Chronicles of Narnia. I think it'll be a fun experience, despite it being religious. So yeah, I'm really excited for this month, and I cannot wait to get into it. Everything is coming so fast. I've been so busy with school, but if there's one thing that's constant, it's my love of reading. So until next time, I hope you all stay safe and have a delightful day. Goodbye.